Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing an artifact deck profile. So this deck is actually kind of weird because usually when you see artifacts, you think of it being used as an engine for certain decks, like using 2 Size, a Moral Attack, and then 3 copies of Sanctum. But I actually started looking at the deck and I was like, man, I want to play an entire deck based around just artifacts. And so I actually made a deck that's just artifacts. It's really cool to actually play around with because there's some really insane cards that people look over in the archetype, with cards like Scythe being so good that a lot of people just look over the other artifact cards that are just like, it's not quite as good, but it is in its own archetype. So this deck is actually pretty insane, and I'm really excited to show you guys this deck. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card to the mail, or even getting requested deck profile just like this one every single month that you are a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the best artifact, and that is Artifact Scythe. This is the card that everybody uses in like a lot of decks as a tech card. With this card, all the artifacts share the ability that you can set this card from your hand in your spell and trap card zone. All of your artifacts share that ability that you can set monsters in your back row, and we're not even playing Infernities this time. But what this card does is during your opponent's turn, if this set card in your spell and trap card zone is destroyed and sent to your graveyard, you can special summon it, and then they gain particular abilities. Usually they can special summon themselves. I think there's a couple of exceptions in the entire deck where they don't special summon themselves, but we'll get to those in a minute. And they also has the ability that if this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, you get a particular effect. So this one's particular effect is your opponent cannot special summon monsters from their extra deck for the rest of the turn. Really good card. We then play 3 copies of Artifact Moral Attack. Moral Attack lets you pop a card or destroy one face-up card your opponent controls if it's destroyed, which is pretty cool, and it special summons itself to your side of the field, but usually all their effects say this card gains an effect during your opponent's turn. We then play 3 of Vajara. Vajara is really cool because this card is like the big combo piece of the deck. Like, a lot of people are like, probably don't even know what this card does, but what it does is it's really, really neat. That if this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, you destroy all cards in your spell or trap card zone, and when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. It's kind of a hand trap that can special summon itself as a 1900 attack point or 900 defense point monster, which is pretty cool. And also being able to pop your own back row in artifacts is really cool, because if you pop this first, or you use this and force your opponent to pop this card, then all of your other artifacts get destroyed, and they all trigger as well to be able to special summon to your side of the field, and all their effects trigger. So you want to see this card as quickly as possible. We play 2 copies of Lancia. Lancia is kind of like the tech card everybody knows about too. Lancia is kind of neat because you can discard it from your hand, or you can tribute it from your hand or face it from your side of the field, and then neither player can banish cards for the rest of the turn, and it's a quick effect. So it's kind of nice to be able to do. Also, if it's destroyed, you can special summon it as well, which is kind of cool. I like it, but like it doesn't feel like an artifact. It feels like more like a hand trap, and I know they didn't. I don't know if they meant to create it like that or not. But then we play 2 copies of Caduceus. Caduceus is pretty neat too. It has the ability that you can set it during your turn in your spell and trap card zone, and it also has the ability that it was destroyed and special summoned, and you special summon it during your opponent's turn. During your opponent's turn, each time an artifact monster is special summoned, you get to draw a card, and you must control this face-up card to activate and resolve its effect, and you can only control one of it to balance the card out, so you can't just draw like 2 every time you summon an artifact monster. It's really good to get this card out first, and then you go in for the copy of Vajara, because then you can just draw like 3 to 4 cards on your opponent's turn. We played 2 copies of Milnir. This card's really good. I love this card too. It has the ability that if this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, you can target an artifact in your graveyard and special summon it in defense. And also, you cannot special summon monsters until the end of the next turn, except for artifacts, which is fine because we play a bunch of different artifacts in the extra deck, like Durandal and Dagda, so you have plenty of cards in the extra deck to go into. I just play a single copy of Beagletack. Beagletack lets me pop target 2 set cards on my side of the field and destroy them, but you have to destroy minimum 1. It has weaker stats, but I like Vajara better, so I just play 1 Beagletack. in this build. I play 2 of the Shield. Shield is like one of the best cards in the deck. Our Aegis is really, really good. It has the ability that if this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, artifact monsters you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by opponent's card effects. So it makes them untargetable, which is kind of cool, and they can't be destroyed by card effects. And then I play 1 copy of Libris. Libris is pretty neat too. It's the big axe of the deck, but when an artifact monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's the big thing about this card, is that it just immediately summons it to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Archlord Christia because they're all fairy monsters and can lock your opponent down and you down from special summoning, which is fine. Once you establish a board, you don't really need it anymore. You just summon out Christia and then go in for your opponent. And then I play 2 of a secret tech card. So I want you guys to comment down below and tell me what you think these 2 tech cards are. They're the same card. Comment down below and tell me what you think this tech monster is. So I'm going to reveal it in 3, 2, 1, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. It's a pretty insane tech card that you guys might not know of. I'll give you one hint. It's basically a sibling card or a counterpart to a monster that is on the ban list currently. So, without further ado, guys, let's reveal it. So, here it is. It is 2 copies of Absorption Jar, which is actually the artwork of Cyber Jar, but just a little bit different. What this card does is when it's flipped, you destroy all set cards on the field, and each player gets to draw a card for each card they controlled that was destroyed. And also, you cannot set any cards this turn. That's fine, because it's usually going to get popped during your opponent's turn. So if this gets popped during your opponent's turn, and you special summon out all your artifacts, and then they all trigger, and then you get to draw like 4 or 5 cards, this card's really good as a 2 of. I don't play it a 3 because I don't want it to clog, but drawing like 4 or 5 cards is just so much advantage to play this card as a 2 of. I can't imagine why you wouldn't play it. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. And this deck takes setting 5 and passing to a whole new level. We then play 3 copies of Artifact Ignition. Artifact Ignition is really good because it lets you target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it. It's kind of like MST, and if you do, you get to set an artifact monster directly from your deck to your spell and trap card zone as a spell card. And if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, your opponent skips their next battle phase, which is pretty good to be able to just skip your opponent's battle phase if they do decide to destroy this. And then we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance, which just lets us draw out of the deck. We don't have a lot of stuff that we really have to go into in the extra deck, so I play the 3 Extravagance just to kind of help out with draw power for the deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So with the traps, we're playing 3 copies of Sanctum. Sanctum is insanely good in this deck, and probably the best artifact card in the entire game. It lets you special summon an artifact monster from your deck. Any artifact monster, which is literally any of the monsters in the main deck besides Absorption Jar or Christia. So you have plenty of cards that you can special summon. And also has the ability that if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target a card to your opponent's field. Or you can target any card on the field and destroy it, which is really good. And you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn this card is activated, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal because you're usually going to flip this on your opponent's turn because all of your artifacts trigger on your opponent's turn anyways. So you're usually just going to resolve this on your opponent's turn anyways. We then play 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster. Heavy Storm Duster helps us pop our own back row and our opponent's back row. If you go up against Mystic Mine, you can use this card to pop Mystic Mine, and you can pop a bunch of different cards on your field to just trigger your artifacts. It's a good combo starter, and we play 2 of it for the Trap Tricks package. We play 2 copies of Back to the Front. Back to the Front really helps out in the deck too because it can special summon artifacts during our opponent's turn. And it also helps us get our artifacts back on the side of the field if they do get destroyed. We then play 3 copies of Trap Tricks. Trap Tricks is really helpful in the deck because it searches our copy of Sanctum, it searches Back to the Front, and it searches Heavy Duster, which is really nice to be able to just get those cards out of the deck and onto our side of the field to trigger the exact one that we need. This card is kind of like a wild card that it becomes any trap that you need it to be. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Artifact Durandal. Durandal is like the original artifact boss monster. What this card does is once per turn during either player's turn, you can activate one of these effects. When a monster effect is activated on the field, or when a normal spell or trap is activated, you can detach a material from this card, and the effect activated becomes destroy 1 spell or trap your opponent controls. So you can have an artifact set and make your opponent pop that card if you can summon Durandal, which is super nice. It also has the ability that you can detach a material from this card, and each player with a hand shuffles their hand into the deck and then draws the same number of cards they shuffled into the deck. So if I have like 5 and I bricked, which is usually not going to happen in this deck, but if I just don't feel like the artifacts in my hand are being really beneficial, I can shuffle all of them back and be able to get a couple more cards in my hand, which is nice. 1 copy of Gaia Charger, the Thunder, or Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger. This card's just good to overlay to get piercing damage, so you just play it as a 1-of. If you banish it, it's fine. 2 copies of Volcasaurus. Volcasaurus helps us pop monsters and then inflict damage to our opponent, which is nice with Gaia Charger, because you make this and then make Gaia Charger on top of it, which is really, really cool to be able to just get that on our side of the field. 2 copies of Pleiades. Pleiades is really good in the deck too, because everything you play just about is light. So you're just able to just get so much advantage being able to spin stuff on our opponent's side of the field back to their hand. Tyrus, Keeper of Genesis. Tyrus is pretty good. I'd like it as a 1-of. This card's effect can only be applied while it has XYZ materials, and this card could not be destroyed by card effects. And at the end of the battle phase, if this card attacked or was attacked, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy that target, and during your end phase, you detach a material from this card. I figured why not throw it in as a 1-of. If it gets banished, it's fine. If you get to summon it, it's fine too. It's a good card overall, but I like playing it as a 1-of in this deck. And then I play a single copy of Archimedes, Keeper of Armageddon, because I wanted to play the counterbalance to it. I thought it'd be kind of cool too. You can detach your material from this card to target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. It just gets you a free pop on your opponent's side of the field, which is kind of nice. Then we play an Access Code Talker package, which is Access Code Talker, Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Phoenix, and then 2 copies of Artifact Dagda. Dagda is really good in the deck too, because if you can get 2 monsters on your side of the field, you can use Dagda to get you an artifact on your side of the field, because when an effect of another card on the field is activated, you can quick effect set an artifact card from your hand or deck to your spell and trap card zone as a spell, but destroy it during your opponent's next end phase, so it will trigger regardless, which is really cool. It also has the ability that during your opponent's turn, if this card is Link Summon card is destroyed, you can special summon an artifact from your graveyard in defense position. So it replaces itself and it gets you an artifact on your side of the field, which is super helpful, which is why we play it at 2. You're usually just going to summon it 1 time, maybe, and Durandal is going to be the best card in the extra deck, but with playing the artifact package, or playing the extravagance package in artifacts, it doesn't hurt to play multiples of the cards you want to get to, which is why I play 2 of the Pleiades, 2 of the Volcasaurus, 3 of the Durandal, and 2 of Dagda. The rest of them kind of come up sometimes, but the other cards, they really come up, which is why I play them at multiples. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really interesting deck. I never thought I would actually be able to build an entire artifact deck, but hey, it works. This deck is really weird and really cool to play around with, and really surprising to your opponent, because they don't realize what you're playing. Like, they think, oh, they're just playing a Scythe package, and they see this, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. They're playing some Scythe, and they're playing some artifacts. It must be like a Cyber Dragon deck, some weird Cyber Dragon deck, or a level 5 spam deck or something like that, I don't know. But it ends up being artifacts, and it's like, oh my god, they set 5 and passed, what is this? And it just catches them off guard, which is funny. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.